Hey, welcome to Central Valley Real Estate. You are watching the real estate segment, and we have a veteran guest, Azad Deeb. You've been here before.
Yes, good afternoon. How are you? Thanks for having me on the show and inviting me back. It's good to be here. It's good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you back.
Cold outside, isn't it?
Oh, man.
Ice everywhere.
You've been enjoying your holidays?
It's been good. It's been good. Yours?
Not bad. I'm packing on the weight, so I'm trying to keep it off.
You and I both can't stay away from all the chocolate, really.
Yep.
All the Hershey's Kisses.
Hard times, third world problems, or first world problems.
Tough times for everybody.
All right, man. Well, let's dive in. What do you have? Your last two houses sold?
Since I was on the show about a month ago, both the listings that I had plugged sold, both Cadota and Hampton. So it's been really good.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was awesome. They both closed in 30 days, no trouble. It was fun. However, inventory is still low. Last we checked with the numbers, inventory was about 1,100 homes for sale in this Fresno area market, which is not a lot of supply. So we need sellers like yourselves to put your house on the market in this thriving market today.
That's slim pickings.
It is.
Why do you
tough.
think that is? Why is it so?
As far as
sellers, people don't want to sell their home right now?
I couldn't tell you what it is, but interest rates are going up, home prices have gone up, so it's one of those.
It's just interesting.
It's just interesting to see where it's going to go from here.
Okay.
It's interesting to see where it's going to go from here.
All right.
But today, really, what I want to touch base on is a purchase agreement and how it works. It's really a timeline. It's got a beginning, it's got a middle, it's got an end. You got the seller and you got the buyer. You got both parties that have to mutually agree to the terms and the agreement of the purchase of the contract. You got the day zero where the seller and buyer agree, and that is really where the seller's point. That's technically the seller's point of no return. Seller can't cancel in the middle of the agreement for any reason after he's gone through acceptance. However, since the purchase agreement is pro-buyer, the buyer does have 9 outs, basically 9 contingencies. He can get out for not qualifying for the loan. They can get out if the home doesn't appraise for value. The buyer can get out if they're going through their physical inspection. They notice that there was water damage, roof damage, and seller didn't want to make any repairs. They can get out if the home was in a condominium or an HOA development and they didn't like the rules or regulations. If there's any kind of reports and disclosure that the seller had to provide or the seller does provide to the buyer that the buyer didn't like, or even if the buyer had to sell their own property to purchase another property, the buyer really has 9 outs, and unfortunately the seller really doesn't, unless they do disclose to the buyer early in the agreement and the buyer does agree that the seller would have to replace the property that he is selling in order to move on. But other than that, really the buyer has all the right to cancel and the seller really doesn't. And
is there a reason for that? I mean,
that's just the way the purchase agreement is written, but it really has to be communicated clearly to either party, whomever the agent is representing, either the seller or the buyer. But the buyer needs to know that he's got 9 outs, and once he removes these contingencies, his deposit or their deposit is up for forfeit in the event that they cancel for any kind of breach of contract or contingencies. But the seller doesn't have any way out, and that should be clearly communicated to
it's definitely
the
good to
seller.
know.
Yeah.
Sounds like the scale's kind of tilted in favor of the
buyer.
Yeah.
But it does still follow a timeline, and both parties have to understand it really well and really clearly. I mean, at day 3, the buyer has to deposit his earnest money deposit to escrow. By the 7th day of acceptance, seller has to disclose to the buyer all material facts by law to the buyer to examine, including their natural hazard disclosure, seller property questionnaire, if the house has lead-based paint. This buyer then has 17 days from there to conduct all his inspections and review and read all these reports and decide thereafter whether they're going to go forward with the house, with the purchase, or remove all contingencies and go forward with the purchase or cancel the agreement. If they do decide to go forward, they have another few more days on the 21st day to remove their loan contingency. And after that, they have a few more days to do their final inspection and then bring this transaction to a smooth close. But I don't think this topic is really discussed much with either buyers and sellers, and I really wanted to touch on this so both parties understand that there is rules to the agreement, and both parties have agreed to it, and they need to adhere and stick to it.
Definitely. No one wants a surprise at the end of,
No, nobody does. Nobody does. So if you're the buyer and you have a good lender, communicate openly to them. No surprises. Lenders do, in fact, look a couple of days before they close to make sure that the buyer hasn't purchased a car or pulled credit, or there's a lot of don'ts that the buyer shouldn't do while they're in contract or trying to purchase a home. And surprises do happen where the lender had to pull the plug because the buyer's debt to income ratio was out of whack because the buyer did something that they shouldn't have. So, or the buyer did not inform their lender of something, and it was a surprise, thinking that the lender wasn't going to discover it. So, I guess at the end of the day, just be open and candid with your lender.
Definitely.
As well as your agent. So, no surprises.
Yeah.
We don't like them.
Yeah, transparency will definitely speed along the process.
Definitely.
Very good. Well, thanks for educating the viewers. I'm sure nobody's heard about that. And
no, but if you have any questions, always please feel free to call, text. The number's at the bottom of your screen. I'm always available. Easy to reach. There it is. 559-312-6864.
Azad Deeb.
That's me.
Slinging the houses, man. It's been good to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you come back again.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
And
thanks for tuning in, and thank you for inviting me into your home as well.
Yeah. Good luck on your listings for 2017.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
We'll see you again.